Hey folks, back with another video. Let's dive into what stories got my attention today. Starting with the announcement by the US President Donald Trump, who has ordered the removal of most American soldiers from Somalia by early 2021, the Pentagon said in a statement on Friday. Nearly 700 US soldiers are currently deployed in Somalia. They conduct training with local forces, including the elite Danab Special Forces, and assist them in their fight against the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab militant group in counterterrorism mission. There have been concerns that a withdrawal could weaken anti-Shabaab forces and severely impact the security situation in the Horn of Africa nations. The Pentagon statement added that the US is not quote-unquote withdrawing or disengaging from Africa and that some forces could be reassigned outside of East Africa. The rest of the troops will be repositioned from Somalia into neighboring nations, allowing cross-border operations by both American and partner forces in order to maintain pressure against violent extremist organizations operating in Somalia, this statement said. Congressman Jin Langwin, chairman of the House Armed Service Committee's Intelligence and Emerging Threats and Capabilities Subcommittees, denounced Trump's troop drawdown in Somalia, calling it a quote surrender to Al-Qaeda and a gift to China, end quote. Langwin also questioned the timing of the withdrawal, which comes ahead of elections in Somalia and amid a seething conflict in neighboring Ethiopia. Every action has, I believe, a reaction, and so I think pulling our troops out is good, on the whole. However, there are some legitimate concerns that must be addressed in order to minimize it. But I would like to also ask the other side who decry our pulling out as to whether these very people also decried us going into a war with this much passion, such as causing destability in the region or and what other potential consequences such actions posed. The reason why we're in this mess is because these people who are crying against any kind of destability are the very people who never cared about destabilizing the region when we went into war in the first place. In fact, they cheered us going into the war. Moving on, thousands of protesters in Bangkok on Saturday uh, showed up in devotion to the Thai monarchy on the birthday of King Maha Vajiralongkorn, King Maha Vajiralongkorn's late father, after months of street protests led by youth movement demanding reform to royal powers. King Vajiralongkorn led a candle lighting ceremony in front of the Grand Palace in Bangkok to pay tribute to his father, King Bhumibol Adulyadej, who died in 2016 after reigning for 7 decades, during which he was seen by many as a symbol of national unity. The king was joined by thousands of loyalists wearing the royal color yellow and waving national flags. Saturday's ceremony was one of the biggest shows of royalist support since protests surged in July. Another man who was holding a portrait of King Bhumibol said that the respect for monarchy is deeply ingrained in Thai culture and dismissed the protests that call for its reform. Now, up until now, the supporters of regime have mustered a somewhat of a weak response, but this one has been stronger. Now, this could be the game changer that the monarchy and the PM want. But I guess only time will tell what what comes out of this. Moving on into the UK and Hong Kong's relation, the UK is granting the most special travel documents to Hong Kong residents since the 1997 handover, bolstering predictions of a mass exodus as China tightens its grip over the former British colony. British national overseas passports have been granted to 216,398 Hong Kong residents in the first 10 months of this year, higher than any annual figure stretching back to 1997, according to data provided by UK's Passport Office. In October alone, the office issued 59,798 Hong Kongers with the document, 52% higher than the same period last year and the highest monthly figure since the British Passport Office began readily compiling them in 2015. Now that translates to more than 5 every minute based on an average 8-hour working days. Now the numbers, which also include renewals, provide the latest glimpse of the departures Hong Kong faces as this year's sudden enactment of a new national security law in response to anti-Beijing protests last year raised concerns about dwindling freedoms in the territory. The monthly numbers began spiking in July when the UK upgraded the status of British national overseas passport holders. They can now stay in Britain for 5 years and have an easier path towards UK citizenship. China has criticized the UK's move to invite more Hong Kong residents as an inappropriate interference in the country's domestic affairs. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs in July said that the country might not recognize these passports as valid travel documents, although that would likely have little practical significance for Hong Kong residents who usually enter and exit the territory using their local identity cards. Now, of course, lost in all the sort of the new Cold War with China is the fact that innocent people are going to suffer. And I think that the British government is doing something good by providing the Hong Kongers a path to leave the clutches of the communists if it comes to that. Moving on into France, the scores of mosques in France were raided on Thursday as part of the government's crackdown on so-called Islamic separatism and political Islam. French authorities said at least 2,600 Muslim places of worship were set to be inspected, with plans to close dozens of them. The raids took place in Paris, Lyon, Marseille, and other cities, according to French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin, who is spearheading a campaign against the perceived Islamic separatism in France. The French Council of Muslim Worships agreed to create a national council of imams, which will reportedly issue imams with official accreditation that could be withdrawn. The charter will state that Islam is a religion and not a political movement, while also prohibiting quote-unquote foreign interference in Muslim groups. Now, I believe that the French government is within its power to raid any facility where there is sufficient proof to conduct such actions. I believe that the French government must work with the Muslims who want peace and are tired of being put in a position of having to be used as tools of the Islamists. It is time that the French government and the Muslims in France work together to stamp out any of these Islamist terrorists that are using them as their shield. Moving on into something a little bit positive, a Japanese space probe dropped a capsule containing 2 samples from the 4.6 billion year old Ryugu asteroid above Earth on Saturday, as scientists await the arrival of material that could help explain the origin of life. The capsule, released from the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency Hayabusa 2 space probe, is due to re-enter Earth's atmosphere early Sunday before landing in a desert in southern Australia, according to JAXA, assuming that's JAXA. Now, the specimens, which are estimated to weigh 1 gram in total, include the world's first subsurface asteroid sample. Scientists hope the primordial materials will help further research into the origin of life on Earth and the evolution of the solar system. After landing, a JAXA recovery team will search a region within a Woomera prohibited area of several hundred square kilometers to collect the capsule. Once located, the capsule will be taken to a quote-unquote quick look facility at an Australian Defence Force facility in Woomera to analyze gases that may have been emitted by the asteroid material. According to Masaki Fujimoto, Deputy Director General of JAXA's Institute of Space and Astronautical Science. Now, the capsule itself will not be opened in Australia, but instead flown to Japan for further analysis. The Ryugu asteroid is a C-type carbono, carbono, carbonaceous, jeez, carbonaceous asteroid, which is believed to have undergone minimal change since the formation of the early solar system, and is therefore an example of the kinds of meteorites that may have struck early Earth. The Hayabusa 2 space probe was launched from Japan's Tanegashima Space Center in December 2014 and reached Ryugu in June 2018. Hayabusa 2 made 2 landings in Ryugu despite the asteroid's unexpectedly rocky surface. Now, whatever the results of the findings going to be, one thing is for sure, that our knowledge about the formation of our solar system will be expanded. I personally believe that the universe, which is obviously vast, that's not a particular belief, but I believe that the whole universe is ours for the taking. And I think we should encourage and we should look towards the skies and realize we can have it all, but we have to do the work. Well, that's it for this video. If you like the video, then hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for future updates. Write in the comment sections your thoughts, criticisms, and anything I might have missed. As usual, the sources to the stories are in the description box below, and I will see you in the next video.